The Gospel of Matthew presents the teachings of Jesus in 5 sessions, and the Sermon on the Mount begins the teachings, and the Beatitudes begin that lesson. They are blessings, an announced expression of God's favor that commends a particular and extraordinary way of life in the present and promises a resolution and reward in a transformed future. As one commentator put it, some mistake them for the entrance examination to Christian faith, others as a straightforward description of an utterly alien world, still others as a quixotic social agenda. These admittedly odd, out-of-step blessings have nourished Christians for 20 centuries. How can they feed us? If Jesus had gone to high school, his English teacher would have been proud to see him using the indicative tense. As a form of verb, the indicative tense is used to speak of a simple statement of fact, rather than something imagined, wished, or commanded. In the Beatitudes, Jesus is not imagining a better future. He's not wishing for a better future. And he most certainly is not telling you what to do or how to live. The Beatitudes are not a short course in ethics. Jesus is simply saying, blessed are. Blessed are all those people, conditions, situations, places, things that somehow seem to be on the wrong rung of the ladder of success. Blessed are those. Blessed are those. And those includes you and me who live faithfully. The world will tell you that the Lord helps those who help themselves. And this may be the only biblical quotation they know. But nothing in the teaching of Jesus in his Sermon on the Mount suggests that is true. It makes no sense to live for others. It makes no sense to share what you have. It makes no sense to sacrifice anything for the benefit of something else. Until you realize that this is exactly what God has done and is doing for you. Whatever makes you a prisoner, God can help you to freedom. Whatever hurts you, God can help you towards healing. Even whatever kills you, God can bring you to new life. That is the history of our God. That's the history of our people. Blessed are you right now. The Beatitudes already exist. They simply are. They bring you well-being. You bring well-being whenever you acknowledge them. The Beatitudes affirm that whether you live in Palestine or Toronto, the people of Christ, the baptized people of God, shun worldly strength and worldly wisdom and worldly wealth and live out the life that Jesus modeled and to which he summoned his followers. This is a radically different life than the one we may be tempted to pursue by the society around us. But then, such is the life of faith. It has always seemed strange to the rest of the world. As disciples, you are called to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with your God. You are already blessed. So you see, really God doesn't ask for much, but we know life can be hard when we look around and see the need for warming centers, for better care for seniors, for mental health support in the community at large, and certainly real help in the form of more staffing for our medical and educational institutions. Dividing the existing staff base into for-profit and not for-profit facilities is not going to meet the needs of the people now, and even less so in the future. I've actually benefited from 2 of the for-profit facilities. That doctors I had seen in a hospital setting told me that the surgery would not be in the hospital, but at another setting. I was given a very early appointment, had excellent outpatient care, and the procedures happened on time and without interruption by hospital emergency demands. Yes, it was covered by OHIP, although one required $200 for a helpful test to secure a better outcome. I also paid extra to upgrade the lenses inserted in my eyes during cataract surgery. I can afford those extra costs, but we should not imagine that this represents the universal health care that we hold so dear in Canada. I belong to the privileged white male class, and I get advantages that others do not. Professor Simpson notes that Jesus was a devout Jew whose thinking would have been shaped by distinctly Jewish teachings. In Hebrew, the word for peace is shalom. The concept of shalom is not only entails the basic sense of peace as being in harmony, not being at war, but it also extends to safety, welfare, prosperity, and completeness, whether these be on an individual or corporate level. To have shalom means to have the fullness of life and all the best of that expression. So if, as is very likely, the concept of shalom is informing Jesus' statement about peacemakers, we must also understand that peacemaking as an active pursuit of well-being for all, especially for those for whom such well-being has been denied. Jesus asserts that it is peacemakers who will be called children of God. All Christians are children of God. The original Greek reads sons of God, but we know that in our day, children of God is a better understanding. But the sons of God concept, however, was a very political statement in Jesus' day. Emperors of Rome were often known as sons of God. They were celebrated throughout the empire as a true son of God. But Simpson notes, the sons of God, children of God, as introduced by Jesus, are agents of peace in the world. The Romans thought it was the emperor's right to rule and establish peace. Jesus tells his followers that true peace does not come from Rome, but through you. You are agents of peace in the world, agents who bring reconciliation and genuine well-being to those who need it. By being thus, you will be rightly called the heirs of God, those who receive God's status, inheritance, protection, and guidance. Christians are called to be agents of peace in the world, and they emphatically do not do so through a model of domination that conquers and suppresses in the name of peace. Walter Brueggemann is an Old Testament theologian that I quote frequently, so much so that some in my last congregation thought I must be related to him. I'm not related, but Uncle Walter not only writes amazing commentaries on both the Old and New Testament, he sometimes puts his thoughts into poetry. And I'll conclude today by reading one of his longer poems, which draws on Matthew chapter 5 and our call to be peacemakers. And now their plowshares are beat into swords, as are ours. Now their pruning hooks are beat into spears, as are ours. Not only swords and spears, but bullets and bombs and missiles of steel on flesh, of power against bodies. And you, in your indignation, sound your mantra, blessed are the peacemakers. We dare to believe they are the aggressor, and we are the peacemaker. Yet in sober night dream, we glance otherwise, and think we are the aggressor, as we vision rubbled homes, murdered civilians, charred babies. And you in your sadness sound your mantra, blessed are the peacemakers. We do not love war, we yearn for peace, but we have lost much will for peace, and even while we dream of order. And you in your hope sound your mantra, blessed are the peacemakers. Deliver us from excessive certitude about ourselves. Help us in the deep ambiguity where we find ourselves. Show us yet again the gaping space between your will and our feeble imagination. Sound your mantra with more authority, with more indignation, through sadness, in hope. Blessed are the peacemakers. Only peacemakers are blessed. We find ourselves well short of blessed. Give us freedom for your deep otherwise, finally to be blessed. In the name of the peacemaker who gave and did not take. Amen.